Greetings, everyone. We're on the big island of Hawaii today, speaking with Don Moody. We're on the east side of the island near Hilo and at Don's great place. And Don is going to share a wonderful story today about a recovery from cancer. So Don, take it away from the top, please. What happened? And
Sure, I'll give you a quick synopsis story about my
take your
my
time.
cancer thing. About 8 years ago, I had a melanoma on my arm. Being of fair skin, my first memories are of sunburns. I grew up in Southern California. Sunburn, sunburn, sunburn. It's radiation. It's radiation poisoning. I've learned a lot about cancer and cells and radiation and things that can lead to cancer, and that's definitely one of them. So 8 years ago, I had, after multiple little cuts, when you go to the dermatologist, oh, let's take this off, let's take that off, let's take this off. I finally got the bad one on my arm, and she says it's a melanoma. Yikes. So within 2 weeks, they send you up to the hospital, they cut out a 2-inch circle and take out lymph nodes that correspond to that area because they don't want it to run, metastasize. And I assumed everything was pretty good. About 2.5 years ago, Thanksgiving of 2017, had a little quick growing, seemed like a mosquito bite. It wasn't a mole, it didn't have a head, just on my temple. And it just bugged me, and after about 3 weeks, I went to my dermatologist, and after 8 days, she took it out, and then she called me with the biopsy and said, you're in trouble. She felt it was coming from my liver or my brain. That was on a Friday. So for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday was a pretty tough. We did a lot of research on metastatic melanoma, and it looked grim. On the Monday morning, I saw my personal doctor. He kind of backed off on the diagnosis and was going to do just like they did on my arm, a larger circle and look for the lymph nodes. A very difficult 3-hour surgery in my jaw. And about a week later, I had to get an x-ray before this going to Honolulu and getting this difficult surgery. And in the x-ray, I had a 35 millimeter golf ball in my left lung. And whoa, that changes everything. So then I went to Oahu, I got a PET scan. And the PET scan, as you may or may not know, it's radiation and sugar. Cancer has 30 times more sugar receptacles than a regular cell. So the sugar sticks to the cancer, the radiation glows when they take the picture, and then they know where you got your cancer. And in my case, I was covered. About 40 metastases between here and here. 20 in my liver, lungs, between my heart and lungs, in my spine and in my hip. The one in my spine was in T6, and I've been feeling tremendous pain about once a week for about a month, and like a sword, spear through me. That's how I'd say, a spear in my back and out my front. And I call my chiropractor, I go, oh, I'm dying, what's it? And he'd say, oh, it's arthritis, you're getting old. And it turns out it was not arthritis. So, when my doctor read this diagnosis to me, young, hip, surfer, tattoo guy, but a doctor, I said, what would you do? He says, probably take out some credit cards and go surf. That's how dire it was. Now, he did want me to, of course, go and follow up, but it was dire. In those 3 days, I went to visit a friend of mine who was doing Rick Simpson's oil for his cancer, and he was dying. He'd been on it for about 10 months. He had the best doctors in California, and he said, go get yourself some immunotherapy. And at the time, I didn't know what that was. I did some research. I found out Jimmy Carter had metastatic melanoma in his liver and his brain and did immunotherapy and was pretty much cured. It's the first time in the history of cancer they're using the word cure. In the past, they used the word remission. So we went to Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, and they recommended I go on the same medication that Jimmy Carter was on. I went, yes. And
It's a good company to
Google,
be
the
in.
statistics, the survival statistics that I found in Google when I looked up metastatic melanoma, well, those statistics aren't in. So I had pretty much 3 to 5 months to live, is what it looked like. And I met all kinds of people whose father and brother and cousin and whatever had died of melanoma. And they said at a certain point, it's really fast. So I returned to Hilo. Lucky for me that I didn't have Obamacare. I had HMSA, which is a Hawaii medical, but I had no medicine in it. So I just had catastrophic. And the lucky thing for me was this thing all came down in the first week of December, which gave me till the insurance cutoff date to go get insurance. Thank God for Obamacare, because that allowed me to go get insurance. Otherwise, the insurance companies would have said, beat it. So I went and got the best they had, and which was great. HMSA really took care of me. And I returned, and every 3 weeks for 2 years, I did an infusion. A little bag of Keytruda, pembrolizumab, it's called. It's a PD-1 inhibitor. And that's a long story, but it's very interesting. And the whole thing about immunotherapy is very interesting. It doesn't treat the cancer, it treats your T cells. And the T cells are a long story. If you ever knew anyone with AIDS, they always pay attention to T cells. What's your T cell count? Because AIDS tend to attack T cells. It's interesting that over the course of more than 100 years of studying how cancer works, it took them 100 years to even realize there was a T cell. They thought it was just white blood cells.
Amazing.
Then they realized there was T's and B's, and then what made a T go? And it took them, after they discovered a T, it took 10 years to find out where the gas pedal was, where the ignition was, where the brake was. Then finally, my medicine's called a PD-1 inhibitor. PD is a programmed death. Cancer is very smart, and it can find that little part of your T cell.
Death?
Yes. Cancer can find that little part of your T cell that's a programmed death button. Now that's there because your T cells, we all know people with autoimmune diseases, lupus, Crohn's, rheumatoid arthritis. And that's their T cells attacking themselves. So when that happens in a tuned body, your body will send out little messengers to shut those T cells off. Well, cancer's smart. It knows where that thing is and can shut off your T cells from doing their work. So this medicine, all it does is it puts a little key in that slot and breaks it off.
That's pretty amazing. So you had this kind of therapy for 2.5 years.
I did 2 full years. So I did 24 months, once every 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like? Did you have?
No big deal. No side effects. The only side effect is dry mouth, which I still have a bit of. It's been January, February, March, April, May. So 4 months I've been off the medication. My mouth's still a little dry. That's it. No chemo. People go, what do you do? You know, can you eat normal? What do? You have to go home and lay down? Nope. We go dancing. I get my immunotherapy and go dance. And
is that what you did? How
yes.
were those 2 years on the immunotherapy? It was, were you just kind of on the edge of your seat hoping this would work, or?
No, I never thought about it.
Never thought about it?
The only
Really?
tense part of the whole story for me was in the first 3 weeks when I didn't know what was going on. When I got the PET scan back and it said, you're screwed, see you later, everything calmed down. And we decided, my sweetheart and I, my sweetheart of 25 years, and I decided that it's an opportunity to have an attitude of gratitude and be just grateful for my life. You know, I would hope I could be grateful no matter what the circumstances of my life. But the circumstances of my life are I live in Hawaii in one house for 44 years. The ocean's across the street. Food falls from trees. I've been doing theater and dance, and I've been in the performing arts my whole life. I'm a lucky character. So whether I lived a day or a month or a year or decades, I've been a lucky character.
It was a complete surrender. It was
to
be grateful for the moment, and
surrender.
You know, enjoy the moment.
Now I know, when you really get sick, it's easier to lose your attitude of gratitude. But I never really got sick. After my first infusion, the pain in my back went away, and I'm pretty much styled. Now I'm really lucky. I'm lucky for when it happened, for me to get the insurance, because otherwise I'd be living in a van on the mainland doing a clinical trial, because it was expensive. $10,000 a bag every 3 weeks for 2 years. That's a lot of dough. But my insurance stepped up big time.
And Don, getting back to that gratitude of attitude, you typed up for me some really nice quotes today. So some good sharings like that helped you get through it. So you want to just maybe we could two things I want to wrap this up with is one, some of that, and then what was it like to get the final word that you're good, which as I recall was just a couple of months ago. Unless you have anything else you want.
It's funny. I didn't, from the get-go, I just wasn't too concerned or worried, let's say. I just decided that it's all in God's hands, whatever that means. And here we go. I've read, my 1,000 books from I don't care to who, Buddha, Christ, Rajneesh, Tolle, all of them. And I always enjoyed that. I always like to have a fiction book going, a nonfiction book going, and a self-help book going. And I read a lot of Zen when I was younger. I really loved it. I like Rajneesh and Osho when he does Zen and Tao and Buddhism and those talks. They're awesome. So somehow I came across a page of some really great quotes, and this one is an Osho quote. Rajneesh. This is what enlightenment is all about, a deep understanding that there is no problem. Then, with no problem to solve, what do? Immediately you start living. You will eat, you will sleep, you will love, you will work, you will have a chit-chat, you will sing, you will dance. What else is there to do?
It's beautiful. I love Osho.
And here's just another one. There's only just 6 or 7 on this page. It says a Japanese Zen scroll. There is really nothing you must be, and there is nothing you must do. There is really nothing you must have, and there is nothing you must know, and there is really nothing you must become. However, it helps to understand that fire burns, and when it rains, the earth gets wet.
It's beautiful. I could feel that going in right into myself right now. It's just, I mean, we all can stand to hear that every once in a while.
And
me today.
Yeah, when in doubt, go swimming. Because swimming is just immediately brings you into the now.
It's true.
It's really, it's so fortunate. I think I have an outdoor shower here, and I get, take multiple showers a day, and I'm just so grateful that I can do that. I know there's people all around the world that can't do that.
And then Don, a couple months ago, I was there on the same day, I think, or within a couple days, you got the final word that all was clear. And you were pretty surrendered at that point, but was it still the moment of jubilation?
No, I didn't really have it, because, God can change your mind, So it's like, no, I was happy to be off the medication and going ahead and doing the whole rigmarole and financial and everything else. But I kind of just felt good those 2 years, and I continue to feel good.
It's beautiful.
And,
okay, cool.
I'm fortunate.
Thank you so much, Don. This is a beautiful story. And
cool. Well, I wish everyone health and good luck, and I've been really lucky in this life. Very fortunate.
Aloha.
Aloha.